The silence of space was broken by the sound of tearing metal. The human ship Endurance shook violently as fire spread across its surface. Captain Ryan tried to control it, his hands flying over the broken controls, but it was too late. The engines failed, alarms screamed, and the ship fell into the pull of an unknown planet. The last thing Ryan remembered was a flash of light before darkness swallowed him. When he opened his eyes, he was not inside his ship anymore. Instead, he lay on a smooth, cold floor that glowed faintly like living stone. His arms were bound by glowing chains, humming with strange energy. The air was thick, heavy, and carried a sharp scent like burning metal. Ryan struggled, but the chains refused to move. Panic grew inside him, but so did curiosity. Where was he? Who had brought him here? The sound of footsteps echoed, heavy and inhuman. 2 towering alien guards entered, their bodies covered in dark armor that looked grown. Not forged, their eyes glowed yellow, their faces hidden under helmets shaped like insect heads. Without a word, they grabbed him and pulled him to his feet. Their strength was impossible to resist. They dragged him through long halls carved with strange symbols. Every wall seemed alive, pulsing like veins, glowing faintly with blue light. Ryan's heart pounded as he realized this was no dream. He had been captured, taken from the wreck of his ship. At last, the guards pushed open massive doors. Beyond them was a vast chamber, a throne room. The air was filled with whispers, hundreds of aliens standing on each side. Their shapes were tall and sharp, their skin shimmering like stone and metal. Some hissed when they saw the human. Others laughed with cruel voices, but all of them turned silent as Ryan was dragged before the throne. And then he saw her, the alien queen. She was unlike the others. Her body was tall and slender, her skin smooth like silver. Her eyes burned with a deep red light, filled with power. She sat upon a throne made of bone and crystal, her presence crushing, impossible to ignore. Yet there was a strange beauty to her, something both terrifying and magnetic. She leaned forward slowly, her voice echoing across the chamber. "So, a human survives," she said, her words smooth, her language strange yet clear in Ryan's mind. Ryan's breath caught. He tried to speak, but no words came. The queen tilted her head, her lips curling into a smile. "I thought your kind were weak, fragile. Yet you live where many would die." The court laughed again, cruel voices filling the hall. But the queen raised her hand and silence returned. Her eyes never left Ryan. "You are different," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "You are not here as a prisoner." Her words made Ryan's chest tighten, confusion battling with fear. "You are here as my king." The chamber shook with gasps, hisses, and angry roars. The alien lords shouted, their voices sharp with disbelief. "A human? A king? Impossible!" They cried, but the queen's gaze silenced them all. Her voice rose, filled with command. "I have chosen him, and none of you will question me." Ryan stared at her, his mind racing. This was insane. He was a soldier, not a king. Why would she want him? What game was this? He tried to speak, his voice hoarse. "I don't understand," he whispered. The queen leaned closer, her eyes glowing brighter. "You will," she replied, her smile widening. "You will understand soon enough," Ryan's heart thundered. In his chest was this survival or a new kind of trap? His instincts told him danger was everywhere, but another thought grew inside him, curiosity. Why him? Why a human? And what fate awaited him as the so-called king of an alien empire? The queen rose from her throne, tall and commanding. She extended her hand toward him, her fingers long and sharp. The chains around his arms loosened as if obeying her will. The court gasped again, shocked by the gesture. "Stand," she ordered. Her voice deep. Ryan hesitated, but the pull of her gaze forced him to rise. The moment he stood before her, the room felt heavier, as though the walls themselves bent toward her power. She stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. "You belong to me now," she said softly, yet the whole hall heard her. You are mine, and soon. You will rule beside me. Ryan's jaw tightened, anger pushing through his fear. He looked into her red glowing eyes and thought, no, I don't belong to anyone. But he stayed silent because deep down, he knew survival depended on patience, and in that silence, the game between human and queen had already begun. Asterisk the alien queen's demand. The chamber remained silent after the queen's words. Every alien eye burned with disbelief, their whispers sharp like knives in the dark, but none dared to challenge her directly. Her command was law, and even the strongest generals bowed their heads, though their anger filled the air. Ryan stood unchained, his body tense, his mind racing. He could feel the weight of the entire hall pressing down on him. He was not a guest, not a hero. He was something else, something the queen had chosen, and no one could understand why. The queen's steps echoed as she moved closer, her silver skin glimmering under the strange lights. Her presence was magnetic, almost crushing. She circled Ryan slowly, like a predator studying prey, yet there was no hunger in her eyes, only calculation. You are human, she said, her voice deep and commanding. Your kind is rare here. Your kind is feared and desired. Ryan's fists clenched. He wanted to speak, but fear locked his tongue. Instead, he watched her carefully, searching for weakness. The queen raised her hand and the walls of the throne room shifted. The glowing veins on the stone pulsed brighter, and suddenly images appeared. Scenes of wars, burning planets, alien armies kneeling before her throne. This is my empire, she declared, her voice echoing through the chamber. Millions bow to me, but they are restless. They whisper of rebellion. The alien court shifted uneasily, proving her words were true. The queen's eyes narrowed as she turned back to Ryan. They see me as eternal, untouchable, she continued. But even a queen cannot rule alone forever. Her words struck Ryan strangely. Was this power, or was it desperation? The queen's gaze sharpened. I do not need another soldier. I have armies, she said coldly. I do not need another servant. I have worlds full of slaves. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that only Ryan could hear. I need a king not of my kind, but of yours. Ryan's heart pounded. He shook his head slowly, his voice finally breaking free. Why me? He asked, his words hoarse but steady. The queen tilted her head, her expression unreadable. Because you survived, she answered simply. Your ship was destroyed, your body was weak, and yet here you stand. She leaned closer, her red eyes glowing like fire. That is power. Power beyond flesh. The court hissed in disagreement, their voices rising. He is nothing, a human, fragile, unworthy. One shouted, kill him now before he curses our throne. Another cried, but the queen's voice cut through their protest like a blade. Silence, she roared, and the hall shook as if the walls themselves obeyed. Her eyes never left Ryan. You will not question me, for I have seen what you cannot. Ryan's thoughts twisted with confusion. Was she insane, obsessed, or did she know something he didn't? The chains may have vanished, but he still felt trapped, not by steel, but by her will. The queen raised her hand once more, and the images on the walls changed. This time Ryan saw something that froze his blood. Images of humans, dozens of them, locked in cages, their faces pale with fear. And then the images flickered to corpses, lifeless, broken, forgotten. Ryan staggered back, his stomach tightening. What is this? He demanded, his voice trembling with anger. The queen's smile was thin, sharp, almost cruel. The ones who came before you, she said calmly. They were weak. They could not survive the tests. Ryan's body went cold. Others had been here before him, other humans captured, tested, and killed. The queen studied his reaction closely, her eyes narrowing. But you, she said softly, you did not die. She stepped closer until her face was only inches from his. That is why you are different, why you will be mine. The court erupted into chaos, shouts and protests filling the air. Some aliens demanded his death. Others hissed their fear. but Ryan only stared at her, his mind spinning with horror and rage. He wanted to scream, to fight, but his instincts told him something darker. This was not just a throne room. This was a trap he was already caught in. The queen raised her hand again, and the images vanished. The hall fell silent. She turned back to her people, her voice rising like thunder. "This human will prove himself," she declared. "He will face the trials, and if he survives, he will sit upon the throne beside me." The chamber shook with shock. Ryan's pulse raced as he realized the truth. He was not being asked, he was being forced. The queen had chosen him, not as a prisoner, but as something far worse, a piece in her dangerous game, and if he failed, he would end like the others. Forgotten and dead, Ryan clenched his fists. His jaw tightening, he whispered to himself, "I'll play your game, but I won't be your king." Yet deep down, a small voice inside him whispered back, "What if you don't have a choice?" The strange tests begin the next morning. Ryan was taken from his chamber by the same armored guards. They led him down long tunnels carved into the living stone, the walls glowing with strange veins of light. The air was heavy, carrying a low hum, like the entire structure was alive and breathing. He asked no questions, because he knew no answer would be given. At last they reached a massive gate, taller than any building Ryan had seen. It opened with a hiss, and beyond it was an arena. The ground was black sand, the walls covered in spikes of crystal. Thousands of aliens filled the stands, their voices rising in a roar as they saw the human. Above them all, on a balcony of bone and steel, sat the queen, watching, her red eyes glowing in the dark. A voice echoed across the arena, deep and sharp. "First trial survival." The gates across from Ryan opened, and a beast crawled out. It was massive, its skin like molten rock, its mouth lined with burning fangs. The crowd cheered, hungry for blood. Ryan's heart pounded, his hands empty, no weapon given, no armor, only his will. The beast charged, the ground trembling under its weight. Ryan did not run blindly. Instead he studied the arena. He noticed the black sand shimmered in patches, glowing faintly when the beast's feet struck. An idea sparked as the beast lunged. Ryan dove aside, grabbing a handful of glowing sand. The moment it touched the creature's molten skin, the beast roared in pain. The crowd gasped. Ryan realized the sand was not sand at all. It was some kind of reactive dust. Using quick thinking, he led the beast toward the brightest patch. When it stepped, the ground exploded with light, throwing the monster back. With no weapon, Ryan had turned the arena itself into his tool. The beast fell, twitching, and then lay still. The arena went silent, then roared with shock. The queen smiled, her eyes gleaming with something close to delight. The guards dragged Ryan out before he could catch his breath. The second chamber was nothing like the first. This one was quiet, filled with walls of glass and strange shifting lights. The voice echoed again, "Second trial mind." Before Ryan, a wall of symbols appeared, glowing and moving like living script. It was a puzzle, written in a language he did not know. The aliens in the crowd laughed, already sure of his failure. But Ryan crouched and studied the symbols carefully. He noticed patterns, repeating shapes, cycles like math equations. He remembered his training, his human habit of solving problems step by step. Slowly, carefully, he began to rearrange the glowing shapes. The symbols shifted, the wall trembled, and then the puzzle unlocked. The lights forming a door. The aliens were stunned. A human solving something meant to break the mind. The queen leaned forward, her lips curling into another smile. Her court whispered, but no one dared to speak against her choice now. The third trial came without warning. Ryan was led into a room with no light, only silence. The voice spoke again, softer this time. "Third trial, fear." At once, the darkness came alive. Shadows twisted, whispers filled his ears. He saw visions, his old crew screaming, his ship burning, Earth falling under alien fire. His chest tightened, his breath short. The fear was real, not illusion. It attacked His mind, his heart, his memories, Ryan dropped to his knees. But he remembered something. Fear was a weapon, and weapons could be fought. He closed his eyes, steadying his breathing. "They're not real," he whispered to himself, again. And again, he repeated it, forcing his body to calm. Slowly the shadows faded. The whispers grew silent. The chamber brightened with soft light. Ryan had passed not by strength or skill, but by holding on to his humanity. When he stepped back into the throne hall, bloodied and exhausted, the crowd did not laugh anymore. They looked at him with something new, fear and respect. The queen rose from her throne, her silver skin glowing under the lights. She looked down at him, her voice low but clear. "You see now," she said, "you are not weak." Her gaze locked with his, almost tender, but still filled with power. "You are what they are not," she continued, her eyes drifting toward her court. "That is why you will rule beside me." Ryan's jaw tightened, his body aching from the trials. He wanted to deny her, to shout that he would never be her king. But the silence in the hall told him the truth. The aliens no longer saw him as prey. They saw him as something more, and that made him dangerous. Dangerous to them, and to himself. Asterisk the dark secret. The trials were over. But Ryan did not feel like a victor. He was given food, strange fruits that glowed faintly and meat that tasted like fire and ash. Guards watched him closely, never speaking, only standing like statues. When he asked questions, they gave no answers. Still, Ryan's mind refused to rest. Why had she chosen him when so many humans before had died? Late one cycle, when the halls grew quiet and the guards stood farther away, Ryan noticed something strange. The walls of his chamber pulsed with a rhythm, like a heartbeat. One section glowed faintly different, the light flickering as though hiding something. He pressed his hand against it, and to his surprise, the stone shifted. A passage opened, narrow and dark. His instincts told him to stay inside, but curiosity pulled him forward. The passage smelled of dust and rot. It led downward, deeper into the living structure. The glow of the walls dimmed until he walked in almost total darkness. But faint sounds reached him, soft whispers, like voices too far to hear. When he emerged, he found a chamber unlike the others. It was not grand or glowing, not made for ceremony. It was a tomb. Rows of cages lined the chamber, their bars twisted and blackened. Inside them lay bones, human bones. Ryan's chest tightened, his breath sharp. Skulls stared back at him, empty, silent. Shreds of old uniforms clung to the floor. Earth symbols faded but still visible. His knees weakened, rage burning inside him. So it was true, the humans who came before him had not simply failed. They had been trapped, tested, and broken. As he stepped closer, one cage glowed faintly. On its walls were carved words not alien but human, scratched with desperate hands. Ryan leaned in, reading slowly. "Do not trust the queen. She will smile as she kills you. She needs us, but she will never love us. We are only keys to her throne." The words cut deep. He touched the cage, feeling the weight of the dead pressing on him. A warning from those who had walked this path before. His mind screamed to run, but his body froze. Then his eyes caught something stranger still, behind the cages was a wall of crystal, tall and shimmering. Inside it were carvings, older than the Empire, older than the Queen. A prophecy, written in alien script, yet glowing with strange energy. Somehow, Ryan could read it not with his eyes, but with his mind. The words whispered into him like a memory he never had. They will come from beyond the stars, fragile but unbroken. Their weakness will be strength. Their blood will light the throne, and with them, the Empire will be reborn. Ryan staggered back, his skin cold. The prophecy spoke of humans, him, and those before him. It wasn't random, it wasn't madness. The Queen wanted him not because of who he was, but because of what he represented. He was part of something far older, something written long before his birth. A sound broke the silence, the hiss of the passage ceiling shut. Ryan spun around, his heart racing. And there she was, the alien queen, standing at the entrance of the tomb, her red eyes glowing, brighter than ever. She stepped into the chamber slowly, her presence filling the air like fire. Her voice was soft, but dangerous. "You are not meant to find this place," she said. Her gaze drifted to the cages, to the bones of the fallen humans. Her face showed no sorrow, no shame, only patience. "You see now why you cannot leave," she continued. "You see why they all died, and why you will not." Ryan clenched his fists, rage boiling inside him. "You used them," he said, his voice shaking. "They were never your kings, they were experiments." The Queen's smile was sharp as a blade. "Not experiments," she whispered, stepping closer. "Sacrifices, failures, shadows of what was promised." Her hand brushed the crystal wall, the prophecy glowing under her touch. "But you," she said, "you are not like them. I chose well." Ryan's chest tightened, his mind torn between anger and fear. Every bone in him screamed to resist, but a darker truth settled into him. He was already part of the prophecy, already bound by something greater than choice. The Queen's eyes locked on his, unblinking, unstoppable. "You are mine, and together we will fulfill what was written." The dead stared at him from there. Cages, silent reminders of what awaited if he failed. Ryan swallowed hard, his body trembling. For the first time since his capture, he wondered not how to escape, but whether escape was even possible, because deep down, he feared the prophecy was real, and worse, he feared he might be the one to complete it. Rebellion in the shadows, the tomb's memory clung to Ryan like a shadow. Even when he returned to his chamber, the dead eyes of the fallen humans followed him in his thoughts. The prophecy, the cages, the Queen's calm cruelty, they poisoned his mind with questions. He tried to sleep, but the silence of the alien palace was never true silence. There was always a hum, a pulse, like the heart of something alive, and that night, within the hum, he heard whispers. The guards moved differently, slower, distracted. Ryan noticed two of them speaking in harsh tones when they thought he could not hear. One word stood out among the alien language, repeated again and again: rebellion. Later, when he was taken through the inner halls, he saw it clearly. Not every alien bowed in loyalty to their queen. Some sneered, some turned away. Others looked at him with hatred so sharp it burned. And among the court, the generals, their armor heavy and dark, they stared at Ryan as if he was not a future king, but a disease that needed to be cut away. That night, when the guards left him chained in his chamber, something unexpected happened. The wall opened, just like it had before, but this time, it was not Ryan who found the secret path. It was them. 3 alien figures slipped inside, their armor marked with scars of battle, their eyes glowing with cold fire. They did not attack him. Instead, the tallest one spoke in a harsh, clipped voice. "You do not belong here, human." Ryan said nothing, but his jaw tightened. The alien continued, his words translated strangely clear in Ryan's mind. "She lies to you. She lied to all of them. You are not her king, you are her weapon." He stepped closer, his armor scraping the floor. "Join us, and we will free you from her chains." Ryan's heart pounded. Could he trust them? Or was this another trap? His silence made the alien sneer. "You think she cares for you?" he hissed, pointing a claw toward Ryan's chest. "She killed the others, do you know that? She drained their lives for her power, and you will be next when she is done." Ryan's breath caught. The words cut deep because he had already seen the tomb, the cages, the prophecy. But still, he remembered the Queen's command, her red eyes, her strange obsession. Was she truly planning his death, or something far worse? The second alien stepped forward, her voice sharp and fast. "The Queen is weak, her empire rots, we will strike soon." She leaned closer, her fangs glinting. "And when we do, we will tear her down helpless human, and you may live to see your stars again." Before Ryan could answer, the wall pulsed and the air shifted. The Queen appeared not in flesh, but as a towering projection of red light. Her image filled the chamber, her eyes glowing brighter than fire. The rebels froze, fear flashing across their faces. "You dare!" her voice thundered, shaking the chamber. "You dare touch what is mine!" The rebels hissed and fled through the hidden passage. Vanishing before her guards arrived, Ryan stood frozen, the chains burning against his wrists. The Queen's image turned to him, her gaze piercing. "They will come for me soon," she said softly. "They will come for us both." Ryan's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, to tell her what he saw in the tomb, to demand the truth. But her presence crushed his voice. She leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. "Do not be fooled by their whispers. Human," she said. "They seek only blood, and they will kill you before they kill me." Her projection faded, the chamber falling into silence. Ryan sank against the wall, his mind torn in two. On one side, the rebels, promising freedom but dripping with hunger for power. On the other, the Queen, cruel and controlling, yet keeping him alive when all others had died. He closed his eyes, whispering to himself, "No matter what side I choose, I'm already in the middle of a war." Far above the palace, beyond the glowing towers of the alien city, storm clouds gathered in the alien sky. The rebellion was no longer whispers, it was coming, and Ryan knew that when it began, he would not be an outsider anymore. He would be the key asterisk, the great betrayal. The day of the crowning came faster than Ryan expected. The alien palace burned with light, the walls glowing brighter than ever. Thousands of voices rose in chants that shook the halls. Guards lined the throne room, their armor polished, their weapons humming with power. Above them all sat the Queen, draped in silver robes that shimmered like living flame, her eyes locked on Ryan as he was led forward, chains gone now, though the weight of them still lingered in his memory. He walked down the long path to the throne, the alien court watching in silence. Some glared with hate, others with fear, but all waited. The Queen's voice rose, clear and commanding. "Today, the prophecy steps into flesh today. He takes his place." Ryan's heart hammered in his chest. He wanted to scream that this was madness, that he was no king, but the air was thick, charged, as if the palace itself was holding its breath. A servant placed a crown of black crystal into the Queen's hands. She lifted it slowly, her red eyes glowing brighter than ever. And in that moment chaos erupted. The doors of the throne room burst open with a roar. Alien generals stormed inside, their armor dark, their blades dripping with energy. Behind them surged rebels, soldiers who had once sworn loyalty but now screamed for blood. "The Queen has fallen," they shouted. "No human will rule us." The court broke into panic, some fleeing, some drawing weapons. The throne room became a storm of fire and steel. Ryan froze, torn between fight and flight. He turned to the Queen. Her face was calm, almost too calm, as if she had expected this. Her voice cut through the chaos like thunder. "Stand beside me," she commanded, her eyes burning into him. "Or die with them." Before Ryan could answer, a rebel general lunged, his blade raised to strike the Queen. Without thinking, Ryan moved, grabbing a fallen spear from the floor. The blade came down, but Ryan blocked it with desperate strength, the impact rattling his bones. The crowd gasped. The human had saved the Queen. The Queen's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. Even as she raised her own hand, energy burst from her palm, throwing the general across the hall in a blaze of light. The battle raged on, rebels clashing with loyal guards, screams and fire filling the throne room. Ryan fought like a cornered animal, using speed and instinct, not strength. Every move was survival, every strike desperate, but with each breath, he stayed alive. The Queen's voice echoed above the chaos. "Look at him. Even now he fights as a king." Her words twisted through the court, sowing fear and doubt. Some rebels faltered, while others attacked with even greater rage. Ryan's arms shook, his chest burned. He did not fight for her throne, he fought because death was in every corner. Yet the court saw only one truth. The human stood at the Queen's side when the palace fell into war. At last, the surviving rebels retreated, dragging their wounded from the hall. The throne room lay in ruins, the air thick with smoke and blood. The queen stood tall, untouched, her silver skin shining like a star among ash. She turned to Ryan. Her voice low, but the entire hall heard her. "You saved me," she whispered. "You could have run, but you chose to stand." Ryan's jaw tightened, his knuckles white around the bloodied spear. He wanted to tell her it wasn't loyalty, that it was survival, nothing more. But the way her eyes burned into his, the way her court looked at him now, he knew his words would not matter. They had seen what they wanted to see. The queen lifted the crown of black crystal once more. She placed it on his head with her own hands. And as the hall bowed in fear and silence, she whispered words only he could hear. "Now you are truly my king." Ryan's heart sank like stone. He had survived the betrayal, but in saving her, he had chained himself tighter than ever. And somewhere deep inside, he wondered if he had just sealed his fate. The final twist. The throne room was silent after the battle. Smoke curled between the shattered pillars. Broken weapons lay scattered on the black stone. The air still carried the echo of screams. But now only silence ruled. Every alien eye was fixed on Ryan, the human who had survived where others had fallen. The queen stood tall beside him, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. Her red eyes glowed brighter than fire, proud and possessive. "Behold your king," she declared, her voice rolling like thunder through the ruined hall. And the court, broken and bloodied, bowed their heads, not in love, not in loyalty, but in fear. Ryan felt the weight of the crown pressing on his skull, heavier than any chain he had worn. He looked at the faces before him, aliens who hated him, feared him, but would now kneel to him. He looked at the queen, her smile sharp as a blade, her touch cold as stone, and he knew the truth. He had not won. He had only been pulled deeper into her game that night. As the palace rebuilt itself with glowing veins of stone, Ryan wandered the halls alone. Every shadow seemed to whisper. Every wall seemed to breathe. The crown still burned against his head. He reached up once to tear it off, but it would not move. It clung to him as if alive, its black crystal pulsing with faint red light. His blood ran cold. The crown was not just a symbol. It was a shackle. He walked past the cages hidden in the tomb. The bones of the humans before him stared in silence. Their carved words echoed. In his mind, "She will smile as she kills you." Ryan's jaw tightened, his fists clenched. Had he already sealed the same fate? Then he heard her, the queen's voice, not from the throne room, not from the halls, but inside his mind, soft and clear. "You are mine now," she whispered. "No cage, no chain, no crown will break you free, for you and I are bound human. And together we will rule the stars." Ryan's breath caught, his heart pounding. He pressed his hands against the walls, trying to block the sound, but it was no use. Her voice was in him, crawling under his skin, burning in his blood. Prophecy flashed in his memory. Their weakness will be strength. Their blood will light the throne. Was this what it meant? Was he her prisoner or her equal? Or something worse, her weapon, her chosen curse? He staggered to a balcony, the alien city stretching out before him. Towers of glowing stone rose into the dark sky. Ships drifted like silent predators there. Lights blinking in the void. The stars beyond them called to him, cold and distant. For the first time since his capture, he realized the truth. Earth was gone to him now. He was not going home, not as Ryan, not as human, but as something else behind him. The queen appeared, stepping into the starlight. Her silver skin shimmered, her presence filling the air. She stood beside him, her hand brushing his arm. Her eyes glowed as she whispered, "Do not fear the crown. It does not bind you. It awakens you." Ryan turned to her, his eyes burning with anger. "I'm not yours," he growled. But even as he said the words, the crown pulsed against his skull, and a small voice deep inside whispered back, "Yes, you are." The queen smiled, sharp and endless. "King or prisoner, it no longer matters," she said softly. for the galaxy will kneel before us. Ryan looked at the stars one last time. The weight of the crown pressed heavier, the whisper of the dead humans echoed louder. He clenched his fists, his heart caught between rage and something darker. And as the alien city bowed in silence below, one truth sank into him. He had survived, but freedom had died. For now he was their king. But the universe was never finished with humans.